Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be having a quick review of subject-specific guidance on the economics extended essay. Let's analyze the overview. An extended essay in economics provides students with an opportunity to, number one, undertake in-depth research in economics in an area of personal interest to them. Remember that we have different topics such as economics, macroeconomics, microeconomics, or international economics. So develop research skills, apply economic theory to real-world situations, make inferences based on real-world data. So you need to have access to data and analyze and evaluate the outcomes of the research. The outcome of the research should be a coherent and a structured analytical essay that effectively addresses a particular research question. So this is an overview of what you're expected to get or to obtain from this essay. The choice of topics. Students can choose a topic within any of the syllabus sections in the current economics guide. So you have received the economics guide, and you might opt for the topic that you best like, but they are not restricted to this. Okay. Well, I highly recommend you focus on them because it's what you have studied during the course. Next point, use of economic theories, models, and tools. Students should undertake an essay that uses the principles of economics as a basis for researching a particular topic. They may take an event, issue, or policy. Number one. Number two, gather data. And number three, apply economic theories, models, and tools to evaluate. It's important that you analyze recent economic events. In that way, you might locate the section of that in the syllabus. So if you're analyzing issues, events, policies recently made, in that way you gather data, and then you contrast that with your course book, applying in that way models and tools to make an analysis of what has happened. Research questions that do not allow a systematic and meaningful investigation using economic theory and do not require critical analysis and detailed understanding are unlikely to be suitable in economics. So it's important to allow a systematic and meaningful investigation using economic theory. So in that way, your analysis will be critical, will be detailed. Next, multidisciplinary topics. It's essential that students answer the question using economic theories and concepts, in that the work does not diverge into another subject area. So you need to be focusing on economics. Some topics can be approached through different disciplines, such as business management, geography. Students must therefore ensure they use economic theories, models, and tools and meet the subject requirements of economics. Alternatively, if students wish to approach a topic from the perspective of economics in another discipline within the diploma program, they can undertake an interdisciplinary world studies EE. So, well, this does not apply to us. 5-year rule. This is super important. Topics should not be historical. They should relate to economic information, policies, outcomes, or events that are no more than approximately 5 years old. Topics that are too retrospective, such as what was the impact of the global financial crisis on unemployment in the United States from 2007 to 2010, almost invariably become descriptive. So avoid that. Follow the 5-year rule, please. Essays should also not be based on future economic events. For example, what will be the effect of the 2026 Football World Cup on the economy of country X? Would not be suitable, as it would be entirely speculative and unsupported. The next point is opportunities for analysis. The topic chosen should provide opportunities for some critical analysis of the information that is gathered. Students should avoid topics that depend entirely on summarizing secondary data, as they tend to lead to an essay that is essentially narrative or descriptive in nature. Restricting the scope of the essay is necessary to ensure a clear focus, and will also provide opportunities for demonstrating detailed understanding of economics in critical analysis. Suitable areas of economics. Macroeconomics topics may be chosen, but it is essential that the research question is narrowed to a reasonable focus on a particular part of the economy and is not on the economy as a whole. So this is super important. Not on the economy as a whole. Topics researching economic development are highly suitable, but the research question should relate to a particular aspect of development or a limited area. It would not be suitable, for example, to examine the effect of some government policy on the development of the whole economy. So this is super important. Not on the economy as a whole. Examples of topics. Let's analyze some examples. These examples are for guidance only. Students must ensure that their choice of topics is focused, left-hand column, rather than broad, right-hand column. For example, the effect of the recent imposition of a minimum wage in Austria on unemployment in the fast food industry in Graz. This is a focus topic and it's fine. But if you say the effect of the minimum wage on unemployment in Austria, this is too broad. Too broad. Number two, the effect of a fall in the exchange rate of the US dollar and its effect on the tourist industry in Carmel, California. How the fall in the exchange rate of the US dollar affected the US economy. So you can compare what is right and what is not. Let's check another one. The economic effect of water privatization on the farming industry in my region of Zambia. The broad topic would be how the privatization of water affected Zambia. Too broad. So that's a very important aspect to take into account. Treatment of the topic. Let's analyze a research question. Choosing a research question that is made up of more than a question, a double-barrel research question, is unlikely to result in a successful essay. For example, does company X practice monopolistic behaviors? And if so, how does it help the firms to increase revenues? This is number one. Or another one, what is the effect of European interest rate policy on aggregate demand in Greece, and what should the government do to increase aggregate demand? So avoid a double-barrel research question, please. In the first example, the answer to the first part of the question must be affirmative in order to proceed with the essay. If not, the second part of the question cannot be answered. In the second example, the scope of the essay is simply too wide. The answer to the research question should not be self-evident. There must be scope to research the question and weave together an argument that is not obvious from the outset. For example, to what extent is a market for mobile phone service in country X an oligopoly? Would not be appropriate when it's obviously an oligopoly as there are only 3 firms. Next, research methods. Students can base their essay solely on secondary sources. They can also choose to undertake primary research. Secondary sources. Students should consult a good range of secondary sources, including economics textbooks, general economics books, research from think tanks such as the OECD or the New Economics Foundation, government publications, publications from international organizations such as the World Bank or UN bodies, United Nations bodies, newspaper and magazine articles. So these are examples of secondary sources. Now, what about primary research? For certain topics, primary research may enhance the approach, including interviews, surveys, and questionnaires. Interviews with experts, face-to-face, virtual, or electronic, in a given topic can be very beneficial. For example, university lecturers, journalists, government officials, business people. Whereas students undertake primary research, they must approach it in an academic manner. Number 1, they must construct any surveys or questionnaires so that they gather meaningful, relevant data. Sample sizes must be large enough to generate statistically significant results. When students have carried out surveys or questionnaires, they must explain the process in the essay. How many people, who, and where. Number 2, summarize and analyze the relevant results. Pages of pie charts summarizing survey results are rarely appropriate. Questionnaires based on speculative, anecdotal responses rarely, if ever, generate appropriate data and should not be used. Use of theory. Students should integrate relevant economic theories, models, and tools with the evidence obtained by the research throughout the essay. The theory should not be presented as a separate section. An essay that delivers a theory as a separate section of the essay and does not apply it to the specific research question is unlikely to be successful in terms of analysis. Students should never make assertions using economic theories, models, and tools if they cannot meaningfully link these theories to their case study with supporting data or evidence. Students can demonstrate their skills of analysis and evaluation by judging the extent to which theory is valid or useful in answering the research question. So these are very important points to take into account. And number 1, integrate relevant economic theories, models, and tools with evidence. Number 2, never make assertions using economic theories, models, or tools if you cannot link these theories to the case study. If, of course, if they cannot meaningfully link these theories to the case study. Number 3, students can demonstrate their skills of analysis and evaluation by judging the extent to which theory is valid or useful in answering the research question. So it's an opportunity to demonstrate your skill set of analysis and evaluation. Okay, very important points to highlight. Examples of topics, research questions, and suggested approaches. Once students have identified their topic and written a research question, they can decide how to research their answer. They may find it helpful to write a statement outlining their approach. These examples are for guidance only. Topic: Policy of plain cigarette packaging in reducing the negative externalities of cigarette consumption in country X. Research question: How effective has country X policy of plain cigarette packaging been in reducing the negative externalities associated with the consumption of cigarettes in country X? Approach: Theory to be researched in depth. Negative externalities of consumption. Data to be gathered through secondary research. Medical data, government data, newspaper articles. 1. External costs associated with smoking before the policy. 2. Changes in external costs since the policy. 3. Information concerning the government's reasoning objectives. 4. Information concerning changing in consumption of cigarettes. Possible primary research. Service questionnaires to try to assess the extent to which consumption patterns were affected, trying to divide the market into different categories: long-term smokers, short-term smokers, young people who may be influenced before taking up smoking. Interview with a government official, health economist, or newspaper. Or newspaper reporter covering the issue. Another one, topic: Company X's abuse of monopoly power in the fast food industry of country Y. The research question is, to what extent does Company X abuse its monopoly power in the fast food industry in country Y? Approach: Theory to be researched in depth. Positive and negative outcomes associated with monopoly power. Data to be gathered through secondary or primary research. Positive behaviors of Company X in terms of pricing innovation, corporate social responsibility in country Y. Negative behaviors of Company X in terms of pricing, lack of innovation, anti-competitive behavior in country Y. Articles in the newspapers about company activity. Number 3. Now, possible primary research. Number 1, interviews with customers to ascertain consumer satisfaction. 2, email questions to representative of the country's competition commission to gather information about the company's competitive behavior. Let's go to another one, topic: relationship between the official inflation rate of country Y and wages of international school teachers in city X. Research question: to what extent has the official inflation rate offered an accurate way to adjust the wages of international school teachers in city X over the past 4 years? Approach: Theory to be researched in depth. 1. How is inflation calculated in country Y? 2. What are the limitations to the accuracy of official inflation figures? Data to be gathered through secondary research. Composition or weighting of country Y's consumer price index, CPI. 2. Changes in the country's Y's CPI in the period in question. Possible primary research. Interview with an HR, a human resources representative of an international school. in city X and how wages are determined in particular. What is the role of the CPI? Number 2, surveys or questionnaires to determine the weighting of items in an average international school teacher's baskets of goods and services. Another example. Topic: Impact of mobile telephones on economic development in country-wise market town X. Research question: how has the increased use of mobile phones contributed to economic development in a developing country market town? Approach: theory to be researched in depth. Theories of economic development. 1. 2. Characteristics associated with economic development. 3. The theoretical advantages of the use of mobile phones in developing countries. Data to be gathered through secondary research. Challenges in the functioning of markets in country Y prior to availability of mobile technology. NGO reports. The ways in which mobile phones have changed the functioning of markets in country Y and market town X. NGO reports, newspaper articles. Possible primary research, interviews with local market traders on how mobile phones have changed their ability to conduct business. Topic: relationship between taxation of high-emission cars and purchases of low-emission cars in country Y. Research question: to what extent has the reason within the past 3 years changed to the indirect taxes on high-emission cars influence buying on low-emission cars in country X? Approach: theory to be researched in depth. 1. Theory of market failure in the context of car emissions, negative externalities of consumption and ways of remedying these, in particular indirect taxes. 2. High-emission cars and low-emission cars as substitutes. Data to be gathered through secondary research. 1. Supporting evidence of the external costs of car emissions, government documents, newspaper articles, publications from environmental groups. 2. The extent to which a change in the tax policy was due to the goal of reducing emissions, government documents, newspaper articles. 3. Data on the number of low-emission cars sold before and after the tax policy. Possible primary research, interviews with managers of car dealerships on their views on the taxation change. 2. Interviews with new car buyers on their rationale for choosing a particular car. An important note on double dipping. Students must ensure that their extended essay does not overlap significantly with any other work they are submitting for the diploma program. For example, the data gathered for an economics extended essay should not be used to fulfill the requirements of internal assessment tasks in other subjects. Super important. The economics extended essay and internal assessment. The internal assessment task, IA, a portfolio of commentaries, may give students ideas for topics to research in depth, but the extended essay is not an extension of this task. Bear that in mind. The students must ensure that they understand the clear distinction between the IA and the EE. Both allow students to apply economic theory to a particular real-world situation, but the IA is anchored in specific articles in the news media. In the extended essay, the student's topic and research question determine which economic theory is relevant to explore. In the IA commentaries, the articles decide this. Both are secondary sources, but there is no expectation in the IA to consult sources beyond the specific news articles. There is no expectation of primary research in the IA. The tighter word limit of each IA commentary means that the 4,000 word EE is a study of much greater depth and breadth. Supervisors play an important role in guiding students on these distinctions. Students risk their diploma if academic misconduct is found. Another important point is interpreting the EE assessment criteria, criterion A, focus and method. Strands, topic, research question, methodology. So this is going to be done in part 2 of this video.